Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Sunday Brunch. I will be the host, I guess. I am Chris Parrish, alongside over there, because, yes, I can do it properly. We have Bobby Money Munson, and below, which, if you get that one wrong, people, I don't know what to tell you. Below is where I got to go see it. Oh, no, that is Joe. Who am I? We got our cup of Joe, just like I hope everyone else has their cup of Joe. And that is rum that he's drinking, people. It is grade A rum.
Kick off a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, yeah, no. It's a big Sunday. A lot of things to talk about. Before we talk about anything, we want to make sure that we're talking about sponsors, because we got to pay damn gimmicks to come every month, and they're called bills, people. Sometimes Pluggo doesn't give us enough money when he's blowing the budget, but thankfully I dropped the Love Wrestling Championship to an accountant, so we are now back in the okay zone when it comes to that, because below you're seeing the ticker saying get 20% off at Manscaped. Why? Because Love Wrestling has partnered up with Manscaped, and if you want to watch more about Manscaped, we'll be showing you a video of our good old friend Zach unboxing his stuff from Manscaped. But make sure you go to manscaped.com, get 20% off, and get free shipping when you use the code and promo word Love Wrestling. And then in case you're like, well, okay, I use my Love Wrestling promo code, got my Manscaped, my stuff looks nice, but I kind of need to look a little better. I mean, just because I shaved off my hair, I don't think I look great. Well, that's where you get to go to RK Athletics One, people, where you can talk to Rich about, nutrition, whether it's about fitness, whether it's all that good stuff, try to change your life around. It's New Year's resolutions. Do that. Go to RK Athletics One. If by chance you can't get a hold of Rich and do in person, he does a lot of online seminars. Right now, he's talking about ring shape. You don't need to be a wrestler to be in ring shape, but you can always look good no matter where you are. Now, as we're getting to the comments, we got dollar signs. Bastard
Sure do.
69. Nice. Thank you for joining us today. Joe, thank you for joining us. How are you doing, my friend?
My first availability to be on Sunday Brunch for a while, like going through with my shoe job, going through the holidays, it's just been nuts, man. It's been pretty crazy, but I've still been catching this program and some of the stuff you guys are doing a little bit. I don't get to watch anywhere near the amount of wrestling that I would potentially like to watch, but I've been seeing a little bit of what's been going on, and I gotta say, I'm maybe jumping ahead of you guys a little bit, but I'm not going to for very long, so I just wanted to get this out there. Very, very cool to see my boy Matt Taven showing up in Impact Wrestling. I mean, his World Championship run in Ring of Honor, I thought was extremely underrated. He helped carry that company through a bit of a tough period, and winning a world title at Madison Square Garden. How cool is that? So just cool to see him and some of the other boys showing up somewhere. And I just hope that they can make good use of it. And excited to see what could happen there. I might end up watching me a little Impact Wrestling now that I've seen that happen.
Did you catch the entire show last night then, Joe?
I did not catch the entire show.
No.
I know a couple of years ago I did a show with Matt Taven. The guy is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet and come across in professional wrestling. Very humble, very, very talented man. Wish nothing but the best. Very happy to see him find a spot after Ring of Honor. So it'll be very interesting. Guess we got to tune in to see if this is a one-time thing or if this is actually going to be something that he actually sinks his teeth in. But with him, Bennett, Canellis, kind of all together now, OGK now kind of in the Impact. I kind of already want to see them against the Good Brothers. But sure. Before we get to that, Bobby, welcome. And I think Dare's asking, what's up?
Yo, Dare amazing.
What's
up? How are you? And did you get a chance to watch any of the wrestling here or this last week? What are your thoughts? Kind of as we're leading into brunch.
As per usual, checked out what I could throughout the week. I haven't watched everything. I didn't have a chance to watch the Impact Wrestling show last night, admittedly. So, any questions about that, I will do my best to answer them. But honestly, I haven't seen what went down last night. But I heard it was a hell of a show. Everyone from Love Wrestling was ranting and raving last night about how awesome it was. So I have a feeling I got to go and check out some of the matches from last night here later today.
Yeah, normally I would write down notes about what happened, but what I just did is I just took a transcript of our chat because I'm thinking like, hey, you know what? You're pretty much telling me everything that happened already. Thanks for spoiling everything, chat. My phone is binging like and it was just like, come on.
One of the side effects to working for a wrestling outfit is if you aren't catching what's going on and there's a chat, you're gonna get spoiled.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're gonna get spoiled.
It's like the private message function just failed for everyone. So it was like, I'm so happy. But no, with that being said, can we say we're a group of people that just love professional wrestling, love to talk about it, and that's why we're all here.
At the same time, you don't have to read those messages either, Parrish.
Oh, no, I didn't. I think we all know that if there is like a paragraph of stuff going in, I ain't reading it.
That's why you never get back to my messages. Oh,
nope.
I knew it.
Parrish is one of those guys where you send him a text message, and if you have to scroll one more time with his finger, he's not reading the whole thing. It's too much.
Time is money, man. I got no money and I don't have no time. But yeah, no. Last night, pretty big night for professional wrestling. If you're in the Edmonton scene, we had obviously a show. It was a nice one. Did feature Dirty Dango, which was a little bit of okay. But no, we got Battle of the Belts. We had Hard to Kill. A lot of good professional wrestling. Our good old friend of the channel, Speedball, Mike Bailey, made his Impact debut. So congratulations, Speedball. Very well deserved. Very cool.
I would love to see Tyler Breeze and Dango get back together. I thought that they were just a fantastic and actually for me one of the highlights of NXT and even when they got into the main roster doing the Fashion Police and stuff. I thought they did some really cool stuff there. So it'd be cool to see if he can lure his buddy to do some stuff like that because those two and Tyler Breeze, one of the most underrated wrestlers in Canada and North America. To get Jushin Thunder Liger to come over and specifically request a match with you, that says quite a bit. That's coming from a big name in the business.
That was one of those accidental teams that just worked very, very
Yeah,
well.
fantastic.
Surprisingly well.
If there's one thing WWE can do sometimes, it is just randomly put guys together and sometimes make something cool out of it. We saw it with the bar. We kind of saw glimpses of it with AJ and Omos. Now RK Bro, Gable, and Otis are actually doing pretty good work right now. The Dirty Dogs, another great example, but I mean, Bobby Roode is just Bobby Roode, people. So, I mean, when you put anything in Canada involved, you know it's going to be good. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't want to say it's anything in our bacon, but I mean, maple syrup makes it all better, I will say. Any big takeaways from each of you guys from this past week in wrestling? Because there was actually a good chunk to talk about. I love watching Brock and Roman bicker about how to talk to Paul Heyman. It was pretty funny. It was like it really made Paul Heyman just feel like the woman who kind of accidentally slept with someone else. But then has feelings for the other. Oh my God. It's just the love triangle between those three are just hilarious to me.
At this point, can you not argue that Brock's biggest rivalry at this point is Roman Reigns? I mean, the two have locked up quite a few times. This has been an ongoing feud for years and stuff. I can't remember when Brock had a feud that lasted this long and this consistent.
No, I think the only other one could be Taker. If you really think about it. But yeah, no, you're right in the sense of longevity. Like everyone, I think, all the major stars, I think, always have that one guy, whether it's Austin and The Rock, you can really make those comparisons to everyone always has that one guy. I think like with Drew McIntyre, over time now, like you're always seeing him with like Randy Orton was for a while. And then I think too, like Randy Orton always had John Cena, right? So, and then, yeah, so I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good for Brock. I think it's really good for Roman because I don't think there is a star in wrestling on the current day who's bigger than Brock Lesnar, figuratively or literally, to be honest. But I think it's just cool to see a guy like Brock Lesnar not just back, but also looks like he's back and he's having a lot of fun. And this might be the most engaged Brock Lesnar. And it's really fun to watch.
He's cutting promos and decent ones.
Yeah.
And he's talking about Saskatchewan.
Right?
But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Like what I'll start with you, Bobby. Like what has stood out to you in this past week of professional wrestling that you're just like, oh, no, okay, this is cool.
For me, the biggest one's got to be WWE announcing Mickie James' inclusion in the Royal Rumble match. I mean, this is the forbidden door that has been closed in the WWE since I think the last time had to have been possibly the 90s when they had the crossover with Smoky Mountain Wrestling at the time, or the crossover with some of the NWA guys in the 90s there. I think that might have been the last and final time that Vince was willing to open this door and work with another company that I can recall on record. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, or Joe. I see the.
I think that Jushin Thunder Liger versus Tyler Breeze, I think would qualify because Liger was signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling at the time.
Okay, fair enough. No, that's a good call.
You could also make the argument that when they did a trade with Impact at one point when they inducted Ric Flair in the Hall of Fame. They had the Intercontinental Champion Christian Cage appear at an Impact show as well. So that was a trade-off. But yeah, it's very rare though.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's been that kind of closed door where it hasn't happened for so long that the announcement shocked everybody, and especially the fact that Mickie James gets to talk about being the Impact Knockout Women's Champion, getting to take that championship over with her to the WWE Royal Rumble match. I know a lot of people are saying this is, that could maybe conflicted feelings from them, like why would she go and choose to do this? But I think this makes perfect business sense on both parts. She gets to have a big pay-per-view payoff over in the WWE while not compromising what she's currently doing over at Impact or anywhere else like the NWA. And then for them, it's great too. I mean, they've let a lot of people go, which has been terrible, but they have also freed up a lot of cash flow, and then they can have these one-off, really moment-like things like this where they can bring in somebody like Mickie James who they can trust and is a big name and is a star that can also bring back some of the eyes that are maybe turning away because they want to go to the alternative that's out there, and that's where they find people like Mickie James.
I wonder if WWE takes this opportunity now to actually listen to not only what the fans kind of would want, but what the performers actually would want. Because I know Mickie James and Charlotte have always wanted to have a match or work with each other at some point. With Charlotte now being involved in the Royal Rumble match, could we actually see this? And could we maybe even see Mickie James, Knockouts champion, versus Charlotte Flair, SmackDown Women's champion at some point? Because I think that would be a very interesting match. Plus, it's hard not to think that now that Mickie James is in this match, is she the only one out of Impact on the women's side who could appear? And I look at, a Dina Purrazzo, I look at maybe a Jordan Grace. You just look at different options, because I'm going to say this. AEW, you were able to bring other people over other than men, right? So I'm just saying you could have included women in the Forbidden Door. And I think that's where WWE is like, I got this.
But it also begs the question, are there going to be some surprises yet to come at the same time, too? Could the men's Royal Rumble match feature a surprise person coming over from one of the other companies as well, too? How open is the Forbidden Door at this point now that they've opened up this much?
I think that's the best part about this whole thing, is the fact that we all now could fantasy book our balls off. And, at least our balls shave. Thank you, Mesky. But that's the fun of it, because who doesn't like a good fantasy booking, right? I know wrestling fans will eat that up every single chance they get. So when they have an opportunity to look at those dream matches or something they didn't think was possible, they're definitely going to be very excited when they see at least teases or glimpses of it. So, and I think with the Rumble, this is the perfect pay-per-view and show in pro wrestling. I don't even think it's just in WWE. I think it's really just one of those pay-per-views where, like, you know what? If that Forbidden Door is open, I have no idea what they could do.
Yeah.
The Royal Rumble is one of the most unpredictable events when it comes down to who's actually in it. And I think this is really cool, especially given that WWE doesn't have a lot of females this time around. So it'll be very interesting to see if this is the only surprise, because I think arguably we can say Mickie James being a surprise entrant on the Rumble might have been been better. So do they have that in their back pocket?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to want to get social media buzzing when it comes down to the Royal Rumble match itself. So what better way to do that than, not show all your cards? I mean, they've teased you with this much. Now they've got people like ourselves and all over the world guessing where could they go from here. And the more we do that, the more we want to tune in. And imagine all those people that are like, nah, I've been tricked by WWE before, not interested. And then it comes down to the Royal Rumble time, and that big moment ends up happening. They pull one of those cards out, and social media is a light. And everybody's going to flock over to the Peacock in the United States or WWE Network anywhere else in the world. They've got to tune in. So they're going to click in. They want to get those click rates up, and they want to get people eyes on it. They might pull something out big here, and they want people to be buzzing about it the day of too.
Speaking of Peacock, I'd like to see me some Dalton Castle in WWE. Just going to see that. I would love to see that. I thought he would have been amazing in NXT. Joel, I'll kind of turn to you about this Forbidden Door, because I know just over the year and a half we've known each other, it's a lot of fun talking about the what ifs in professional wrestling. But if there was an actual forbidden door and people were able to walk through, what would you like to see WWE do in terms of bringing people in?
Well, I'll kind of tie that into my takeaways. I have 3 of them, and then I'll let you guys go and let the professionals do the rest of the show here. For me,
you'll be on your own too.
You had mentioned it earlier. My first big takeaway recently is stuff with Brock Lesnar. I mean, he's in there. You had mentioned he's having fun. He's cutting his own promos, and we're getting to see that real kind of genuine Brock Lesnar. And he's Brock Lesnar having a good time on top of kicking ass. I mean, that's intriguing. Seeing that it looks like it'll be him and Bobby at the Rumble. I would have rather they would have postponed it for WrestleMania, because I think that's a marquee WrestleMania matchup. But that kind of is what it is. Again, too, with this Forbidden Door, like I said, it was very cool to see the stuff, the Ring of Honor guys showing up on Impact. A handful of my favorites, like I said, Matt Taven, Vinny, PCO, and so pretty cool to see those guys there. I'm curious to see, because they mentioned Mickey James is going to be involved in the Royal Rumble, just like how many. This is what you guys were just talking about. All the kind of those are my favorite years to watch the Rumble, because there have been some where we either know everybody that's going to be involved and there's only a handful of surprises. But now that this Forbidden Door has been ever so slightly opened, it's interesting to see, because there's some people that can't make their way over to New Japan. They're kind of signed talent. They're over here looking for something to do, your Tama Tongas and that kind of stuff. I mean, literally anything can happen, and I just hope that they can capitalize on that kind of stuff. And then just my other big takeaway to kind of end up before I leave, just given all the releases and stuff kind of going on, I'm really hoping that we're getting close to this sale of the company happening, and I hope that it's purchased by a company that's spearheaded by like an owner that just loves professional wrestling. I don't want it to be just purchased by a company to where it's just all about the money, because we'll be right back where we are right now.
Hey,
right?
Spencer, you listening? Come on.
I'm hoping that it'll be purchased by a company that's owned by somebody who loves professional wrestling, because then I think we could really, really see some rejuvenation with the WWE that it sorely needs.
It's always interesting to me when I hear about companies that are up for sale, and it always makes me wonder, what if Eric Bischoff was able to keep WCW? What would have happened? How would that landscape changed? We did have the comment with Derek talking about what about the invasion? Invasion doesn't count. I'm going to pull it up 1 second if I can find it. There you go. Because it really depended, because of the ECW invasion, when they had that one with I think it was like the Eliminators and Rob Van Dam and stuff like that, that would count. But when you had that later invasion with Stephanie buying ECW and Shane with WCW, at that point they were all contracted employees to WWE. Yeah. So not really, but it still was cool. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch Steve Austin with DDP on Broken Skull Section, but DDP just saying how much, like on paper, that just could have been the greatest idea, but just never executed properly. So do that, but no. But speaking of Forbidden Doors, we opened up one, and Joe, we just want to say thank you for popping in. It's always nice to see you and just kind of see you, especially with hair now. I was saying, right? It's kind of weird.
Hair, less here, more here. So,
yeah. So I mean, you did your best carrying cross impression and grew some hair. It was perfect.
But yeah, thanks for having me. But I probably will make myself available if I'm available around the Royal Rumble times. Like we're just talking, there's some buzz and some excitement about it. If we'll see, I'll try and make myself available, especially after, if some really cool stuff happens. I will do my damnedest to be around and talk about it.
We'll look forward to seeing
you never know what you can expect at the Rumble, people. That's why it's so much fun. Because even I love wrestling, we have our surprises too.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I will see you later.
Take care, Joe.
Bye, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. There we go. But yeah, no, and Joe kind of made up a good point, because I know like the last kind of big ones, I think like last year, we had Christian coming back. The year before we had Edge coming back. But kind of the last big like debut or the hush one was AJ Styles, Jordan. And I remember that was the one where not a lot of people kind of were in the know about AJ Styles. And it was really cool to see something like that. So I really hope we can see a debut at a Rumble. I think debuts are very interesting. Returns are really cool, but I think debuts are just a little bit more cooler on my end of the scale.
So here's a thought for the Royal Rumble, and maybe people will argue this one with me, and go ahead. What about Wyndham Rotunda? It comes to the Royal Rumble. I mean, I don't know if anyone's been paying attention to what he's got going on recently, but there's been just a few little things going on that make me believe that maybe he's not quite as done it with the WWE as would have been initially thought, that there could be a return coming up. He's even got dates planned where he's selling signatures as either Bray Wyatt or The Fiend, which, I mean, this is a WWE no-no as far as we understand, that you're not signing autographs under any of their trademarked names. And he's been using a lot of imagery that still reflects his time with WWE to make the argument maybe they have secretly re-signed him and he could be a surprise entrant into the Men's Royal Rumble.
I would have a lot of time for WWE if they were able to coo the fans this way. I think that's next level, like kayfabe, to be quite honest. And it's something that we just don't come to expect anymore. I think too, like we're just so expected to go somewhere to find an answer. We're so expected just to know what's going on right away that when we have to wait for something, it's unsettling almost, because everyone's scrambling to find the answer, because that's just the world we live in now. With pro wrestling, if you're able to do that, you did well. I really hope something like that happens. I think that's only good for WWE. I think that's good for professional wrestling. I think that's great for the fans, and I think that's really cool for Bray Wyatt, Rotunda himself, if he's able to do something that can really make the fans think they know what's going on, only to side smack them when they don't see it coming. I think that's really smart. I'm kind of on your side. Like, I don't think he's done. Like, it's so weird. Like, it was like, well, even just from a WWN, why would you get rid of that guy?
Well, again, from my understanding, he was on a pretty high contract, especially with the fear of what was coming from AEW. They did not know what that product was about to bring. They were throwing out contracts at guys, and large ones at that. And you got a guy like Bray Wyatt, a.k.a. Wyndham Rotunda, who was on a very large contract, but at the time had been taking a lot of time off from reports with, different things that had caused him to take that amount of time off. Obviously, he was dealing with some personal things and stuff like that. Easy enough. The company lets him go, gets him out of that contract, pays him out this amount that they have to, but then goes and re-signs and is able to work out another deal that doesn't have as much on paper, so to say, but brings him back and allows him maybe a little bit more freedom to change up what he was doing. Maybe it was a way to break free from the Fiend character and come back as something else at the same time, to go away and film this film that he wanted to do, have the time off to be able to do that as well too. I mean, who's to say? I mean, we don't know what really is going on backstage. We can read all the dirt sheets and listen to all the podcasts and things out there that we want to, but we really do not know what's going on behind those closed doors.
No, and I think it's kind of funny because I'm kind of putting it in this a similar way. I'm a big football fan, and like we hear about guys getting bought out all the time in football. Guys getting cut or whatever. Very similar than, in that realm, but like just renegotiating a contract. Like, I don't know if, WWE has done this in the past, or like how often they would do it, or even if they did it at all. Like, I don't know. I've never been offered a contract by Vince. So Vince, if you would like to show me firsthand how this happens, I would gladly be okay with it. But yeah, if they're able to renegotiate contracts, whether it's extend years or like, kind of like maybe give you kind of what's the right word? Like a guarantee. Like, if you sign this, we'll get you a guarantee, but then like your average base is maybe a little bit less, but you have that guarantee in your back pocket. I don't know, like something more similar to what they do in the NFL. I just would assume that could work, because I know that when it comes to job security and financial security, that's a big a big thing for guys before they want to sign a contract, especially in pro wrestling or in any sport for that matter. So if this is kind of a new way of how maybe WWE can do a contract, I mean, that'd be very, very groundbreaking, especially with these, when Hall and Nash kind of went over to WCW, how they kind of changed the guarantees as we knew it then. Maybe this is just a next level kind of way of doing it too.
Yeah.
But I mean, we saw it an example with Kevin Owens too. He was given a contract that a lot of people felt AEW could not match. So I'm not saying they got to do this with everyone, but when you got the right worker, when you got the right asset, you almost have to do it because you just know that you can, like, this guy's going to help you that much more. And I don't think it's an undeniable thing that Bray Wyatt can help a company better than a lot of other athletes and a lot of other performers. That guy's just a unique talent with a unique mindset, with an unbelievable creative knowledge. And I think WWE keeping him around, that's a very smart decision.
Well, I mean, he comes from a unique background of professional wrestling talent as it is. I mean, his father, his grandfathers, I mean, all of them, everybody in the Rotunda family in general was able to, break grounds in professional wrestling through the years and stuff like that. And it goes without saying that, yeah, I mean, Wyndham is a profound, unique talent, especially for this generation. I mean, he's on a microphone, undeniably one of the most interesting people to listen to, no matter what he's talking about. It's unique in every sense of the word. I mean, I think there's something to be said about the way they handled the Fiend character inside the ring and stuff like that, which I think that would be the best part about switching Wyndham Rotunda up, and at the same time take him away from the supernatural and go back to kind of what he started out with, but with a new spin on it, something that he is ready for and willing to do, kind of thing. And I think with an improved game inside the ring, maybe switching up a few of his movesets, this guy could be one of the most unique talents we see for generations to come.
Yeah, and like the one thing when you look at a lot of your favorite wrestlers in the past is that they've always evolved. And we can even talk about like Steve Austin when he was the ringmaster. Before that, Stunning Steve, and then he kind of had a slower transition to what we know as Stone Cold. But then even that has evolved from itself. And then you even look at the Undertaker, you look at Kane, you look at The Rock, who was Rocky Maivia. Like everyone has evolved. Like Edge wasn't a fighting vampire his entire career; he's evolved from it. So like, why can't Bray Wyatt? And that's why, like, I just find like you got like nowadays you just have to be a little bit more patient when you see like a character change or a character evolution. Like, I think if you waited a little bit more, and you had a little bit more patience with Karrion Kross, you could have found some positives out of that, and then run with that. Trial and error is a real thing in professional wrestling, and I do think you just got to be patient if it's not working right away, because you just never know what hits. I mean, look at John Cena. He almost got fired and let go because what he was doing wasn't really working. And then all of a sudden he raps on a plane ride, and boom, he becomes the new hot thing in professional wrestling, and then ends up becoming the face of the franchise for 15 years. So you just never know. So, I mean, that's really interesting to kind of just talk about, because it is something that still happens.
Yeah, and sometimes people just need to take those opportunities to, allow themselves to evolve and everything too. I mean, I know that it's quick to make judgment about some of the suggestions we've heard that have been presented to certain wrestlers and stuff that are about to make a main roster debut. I mean, we've heard some of the things that have been suggested, but I mean, some of the greatest wrestling talents of all time have been not afraid of going out there and having a little bit of humiliation about themselves. They'll go out there, have some fun with what they're doing, and make it work. I mean, you look at a guy like, say, Kurt Angle, and I mean, he was just absolutely brilliant with this kind of thing. I mean, he would evolve himself from being this, clean-cut Olympian hero and stuff to being able to have this guy who's a complete goof and stuff like that and have some fun backstage, to going and being one of the most aggressive in-ring workers after that. I mean, he would jump and evolve between all these different things and just seamlessly. And it's guys like that we need to look to and stuff. Not to say we need to bring a guy like that back, but we need guys to evolve like that. Like you're saying with Bray Wyatt and stuff like that, we need to be patient. We need to allow it to happen. And I think they're really on track with the stuff right now. I think that we're kind of in a transition period, especially with WWE at the moment, where I think some of this stuff is on the way, and it's just patience that we need with them at the moment. And I think some great things are to come on the horizon.
I mean, there's a reason why the old phrase is patience is a virtue, right? So, but with that being said, I kind of want to transition more to, the impacts and the AEWs, because I thought another thing that AEW is doing really well is the evolution of the MJF and CM Punk feud. This has become, in my opinion, the best feud that this company has. And these guys have not locked up. They've done a very good job of keeping them away from a physical end. They have not even, I believe, hit each other yet. But at some point, that big payoff is going to come. And my thing is, what do you do with these guys? When their first match comes, what is the best route to go with on this? Because I just can't see one match being the only time these guys have. But match one, what do we do with these guys?
Match one, I have CM Punk wins, but he doesn't win clean. I think, and hear me out when I say clean. This isn't a dirty finish. MJF hightails it out, takes the count out, or whatever. He's having none of it. He's not, he can't overcome Punk. He gets frustrated, pissed off, whatever. He walks up that ramp, to hell with you, Punk. I'm going backstage. And then you separate them again for a while. MJF refusing to get back in that ring and stuff like that. Next time around, the second time around, you have MJF win. Dirty tactic, whatever it takes to get that win over CM Punk. He gloats about it. He holds on to that. He doesn't allow another match to happen between the two of them because he wants to hold that over Punk until finally you get that third one in, and this is where Punk gets to lay it right into MJF and finally overcome him and get the babyface win that he needs to have.
Yeah, I kind of have a similar mindset, but in a kind of different way. I would actually do MJF wins the first match by a count out, but it's one of those scenarios where it's MJF using the rules to his advantage, using them in a way where it doesn't show that he really wants to engage him. And then the next time, maybe he gets like Punk accidentally disqualifies himself and stuff like that. We just set up to that big match where, it's anything goes. And then it's just like, you have no place to go. You have no place, like you can't get out. Like there's no way out of this one for you. And I think that's kind of like a story I think they're doing a really good job with is no matter how aggressive Punk is trying to get to, MJF is finding a way to get out of it. Yeah. And I think I think if you kept that going through this, just through a series of matches, I mean, I think you can really get more out of it. But I would like to see, and I think we're both in agreement, we just want to see this help elevate MJF to that main event level. But I think, again, we talk about that patience. I think it's going to come eventually. So I just think this might be the perfect position for Punk to get back into kind of that, I'm a star in professional wrestling thing. Because, the match with Darby Allin was really good, but you can still see that he just still wasn't the CM Punk we knew. And now I find that, we're getting a little bit more of the CM Punk that we all knew about. So I think
sorry to interrupt, but if it's accidental that this happened, I mean, whatever. But at the same time, we had it start off where you're right. He had a decent match with Darby Allin start off, but there was no animosity there. I mean, there was nothing to divide the two of them. This was a one-on-one matchup between two guys who respect each other. But it was, I believe, where you could argue that Eddie Kingston brought the fire out in CM Punk, and that's what kind of initiated this. And now MJF is that adversary that Punk has been looking for, that slimy guy, the guy you want to just slap that smirk off his face, finally getting under Punk's skin that brings it out finally. And I mean, whether that is a planned storytelling that they're doing or it happened by accident, this is what is working so great about Punk's run at the moment, is it's been kind of authentically built. It hasn't just been Punk shoved down everyone's throat as the big main event star of AEW. I mean, it's an authentic rise. And once he finally gets there, I mean, this guy can run with it. We know that. I mean, we know the world loves him. and we know he's going to do well at the top of this company.
Yeah. Is there a point in time that maybe and I don't say like anytime soon, but like maybe in a year or two, we could see this kind of be that transition that kind of helps maybe change Punk from, in sense of maybe going from that good guy to more of a bad guy kind of a thing. I mean, we've already seen him heel out on the New York crowd because that was where MJF is from. But with that being said, like, man, like, what are the odds of maybe seeing MJF and CM Punk on the same page for once? I think that dynamic is really good in just a 1-versus-1 role. I think in due time, I'd like to see CM Punk embrace the heel that is MJF and vice versa, because I do think these guys, now that we're seeing it, are bringing out a different side of each other that, I think we knew that they had, but we just needed to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's an impossibility. I think right now it's not. Like you're saying, a couple of years from now, that's way more possible than I think on the immediate run. I don't see CM Punk making any turn just yet. I think they're going to allow this to run out for as long as they can, cash in on it while they can, and then when the time is right, then you reevaluate and have a look at it. Is the time right to finally pull that trigger and have CM Punk take that turn?
With the trios kind of becoming a new thing, or the thing now in AEW, what are the odds with Ace Steel, known as Chris Guy, who got let go from the WWE? What happens if they bring him in and they decide to form the Second City Saints in AEW?
I mean,
imagine them against the now named Paragon, formerly known as the Undisputed Era.
Yeah. It just seems to be the one thing I don't like about what's going on over there. A lot of the time, it's like, again, just nitpicking these ideas from other companies and putting them onto a different show just doesn't seem. I mean, I know it gets that immediate pop. Don't get me wrong. I know people are going to hop on here and start telling me, oh, well, it gets a pop. I know it gets a pop. I know that the immediate wrestling fans see it. But again, like, you can tell that with some prolonged storytelling. You don't have to immediately stuff these guys back into the same group that they essentially dismantled for other reasons in other companies, and you're bringing them back immediately because they hopped over to a new company. I mean, have some authentic ways of doing it. I mean, build them up. Suddenly, they have a common enemy that they suddenly have to, harpen back to that old friendship and stuff like that in order to overcome. And that's what draws these groups back together. But I mean, the easy thing to do is just bring these groups now in and be like, okay, we've got a trios division, so let's throw them back together, because they used to do something back in this other company.
Yeah. The one thing that I thought, they are doing this in a completely different, more authentic way, was actually on SmackDown when they kind of announced that by the end of the show, you're going to see Roman Reigns' Royal Rumble opponent. And he's in the locker room after watching the Usos in the New Day yet again. And then all of a sudden you hear this knock, but it's just not a normal knock on the door. No, it sounds very much like the theme song of The Shield knock. And then all of a sudden he says, "Come on in." And it's Seth freaking Rollins. But just the little, my knock isn't just a knock, knock. It's a no, dun, dun, dun. And I just thought that was so funny, so clever, and just a nice little thing. And it's like, just the look on Roman's face, like before he says come in, was just amazing. When we're talking just off screen before we started, but just the little things that WWE does decide to do when they want to do it are just so good. So like little things like Seth Rollins using the Shields theme as his knock to kind of introduce himself back to Roman Reigns, I just thought was very clever.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I thought that was a nice touch, and again, it mixes it up a bit. I mean, I know we've seen Roman versus Seth before, but when was the last time? I mean, this is going to be a nice change. I think I like the idea of that going into the Royal Rumble. The Rumble is building up to have some interesting matchups and things that are really worth the time to invest in. I'm kind of actually excited to tune into the Royal Rumble this year.
Yeah, and we talked about like just the evolution, like again, like earlier, about evolution of characters and guys, and now we're seeing both Roman Reigns as now the head of the table, the tribal chief, the needle mover, but then we also have Seth freaking Rollins, like who's just a different form of Seth Rollins that we know of, and now that's the match. And I really think this could be the match that brings Seth Rollins back to being more likable by the fans, because this is by far probably the most entertaining he has been in a very long time, if not his entire career so far. So
let me toss this out there. The Bloodline costs Brock Lesnar the WWE Championship to Bobby Lashley at the Royal Rumble. Brock goes on to fight Roman Reigns, Universal Championship, WrestleMania.
Yeah, like I have a weird feeling that WWE is setting up for title unification matches at WrestleMania.
As much as I want that, I really don't see them doing it. I think they love having this 17 different titles per show kind of thing going on. But yeah,
for the first time and for no reason, like, because usually you'd see it for a Survivor Series or something like that. But we saw the Universal and WWE Championship right beside each other on SmackDown this week. And then we had the Women's SmackDown Champion actually announce herself for the Royal Rumble match. So it just goes to show that not all champions need to. I know, like they're showing that there's going to be different things going on that we're used to. Like it's not going to be that. And maybe this is a thing where WWE realizes that they have to simplify, what they have, and that includes their champion, the list of champions. And I'm
get Clash of Champions at WrestleMania this year.
But like, would that be such a bad thing that they use this as a completely different time to kind of revamp what the next 10 years of their business model would look like? I'm curious. If it's done well, I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, and I mean, I've been clamoring for title unification for a long time because, I mean, as much as I love to watch a good old title fight and stuff like that, I think that it devalues the level of the championship when you've got so many of them on the same program all the time. It's different when someone comes over with a world championship from another company or something like that. But when you've got let's argue 3 world champions in WWE on the men's side alone, because you got to include NXT in that argument. Mm-hmm. I mean, then you can say the same. You've got the same for the women. You've got the tag team titles, which is the same across, and then you got the mid-card titles and stuff like that. It seems like, especially with a reduced roster, that too many people are champions currently in WWE. And I think that it wouldn't hurt to have some title unifications, really to solidify the importance of those championships and give people a reason to want to get their victories and get up the ladder so that they can have those title fights. And it also gives us some better storytelling in that sense, because we don't have to keep having a reason for all the titles to have something going behind them. I mean, it'd be easy for that because you got so many different people vying for the opportunity to win a championship now.
Yeah. I wonder too, not only if they unify the titles, but if we're in line for new looking championships and that'd be really curious, because I don't know about you, but I am not a fan of the style that is the women's titles and the Universal and the WWE title. They're not my jam. No, I just like more of that traditional look of a championship. And I know this is kind of going back to our first topic, but Bobby, we appreciate you coming in. Do you guys think more wrestlers from Impact Wrestling show up at the Rumble this year? And I'm actually going to add on to this question. Say there is. Who do you think it will be? Or if you were WWE, who would be a great... I'll go one from the men's, one from the women's, not including Mickie James.
I'm just trying to think who to pick from that they got over there. I mean, if you go on the women, I mean, I think it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility that the Inspiration, aka the Iconics, also make that appearance, because WWE has worked with them. It's a great opportunity to bring them back in. I could see them doing that. I think they'd be smart to go after Deonna Purrazzo, personally, if they're going to go after one of the women over there. Again, if I was to go based on what I'd like to see him pick. I would love to see Jonathan Gresham show up at the Royal Rumble because I want to watch more Jonathan Gresham any day of the week. So yeah, I mean, I'll throw it out there on the men's side that way. I could see WWE going after somebody like Moose even. It's the kind of guy Vince would love to throw into a Royal Rumble match.
Yeah, I think if I was to look at anybody, I mean, I think I would love to see. I kind of would love to see Jordan Grace come into the Women's Rumble. I think you don't have, and Bobby's also saying Deonna Purrazzo. I think it's really easy to go Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah.
Because I agree.
So they should.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the Rumble, and I'm looking at the one thing that they don't have, and they don't have that big, strong, like dominant female in this year's match yet. They just don't.
Unless they pick Persia Pirotta out of NXT, that woman is a legitimate badass that could powerhouse anybody on that roster.
Yeah, but when we talk about somebody who has more of a pedigree behind them in the sense of who they are, I think I don't think it's wrong to say Jordan Grace is more defined in that role.
That's fair, very fair.
And I think if you're making an impact at Royal Rumble, I think Jordan Grace would be a great person to be that dominant force, whether it's your, what Nia Jax used to be in the Rumble or something like that. I think it's very important to have that one person. Not to mention, I think it'd be really cool to see Jordan Grace face off against Beth Phoenix or Natalya or, a Charlotte or even, an Asuka if she was to return, which, yes, I believe that's going to happen. For the men, it's so easy for me to say, like Bobby's saying Jonah. I don't know if the main roster fans would care about Jonah being back as much as maybe the hardcore fans, because he just never became a member of the Raw and SmackDown. I would love to see it. I think when we talked about patience, I don't think there's enough patience on him.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Chris Sabin in WWE in one thing.
That would be awesome.
I would love to see Chris Sabin against Rey Mysterio in the Rumble. I would love to see something like that. I would even love to see Trey Miguel.
Yeah.
Josh Alexander's a great pick. I'm just looking at kind of another one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to cut in for a minute because Bobby's bringing up Jonah in the chat there and stuff. And we've talked so much about certain people out there in professional wrestling like this. Anyone watching like Jonah, the inspiration, all these great talents that, you even go over to WWE right now with Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta and Grayson Waller. A lot of these talents come straight out of Australia. And if you guys want, there's a lot of this material is available to go check out these great talents on YouTube. So check out like Riot City Wrestling, Melbourne City Wrestling, I believe also PWA Black Label as well, where a lot of these talents that you see now in the WWE are being plucked from. So if you have a love for those talents, I suggest going and checking those out. Sorry to interrupt you there, Parrish. I just thought they deserved a bit of a shout out here. So.
No, completely fair. And what we do, we connect fans, right? That's what we do, right? But no, I just think like when I see like Royal Rumbles, you always think of the nostalgia packs, right? And you've kind of seen it for one last time. What happens if we get in a position where Drew McIntyre's in the ring, Jinder Mahal's in the ring, and then all of a sudden Heath Slater comes out, and we just get that?
It would be fun.
Imagine a 3MB face-off against the New Day in the Rumble. It would be fun.
Yeah, and I mean they go for the fun factor in the Royal Rumble.
And
they
both
want to
teams
have
two WWE champions on their side.
Yeah,
think about that one.
Yeah, you really do. And a king between them, and a guy with kids. So I mean, it's everything to fight for.
No, we have guys that rap and we have guys that are in a band. Like, it just writes itself.
And Vince loves that. That's the kind of stuff that Vince would just go gaga for, and it's very possible. And now that you say it, I can envision it happening.
So, I mean, just little things. I mean, I would also love to see like a Crazy Steve, though. Like, I would love to see something completely different. Like, I think I have all the time in the world for Crazy Steve. Like, do I think he's going to be a world champion? No. Do I just love his act? Yes. But with that being said, you know who another guy would love to see in a Rumble for no apparent reason would be Danhausen. I think that would be hilarious.
Normally Danhausen is the type of wrestler that I just don't really care for that much, but something about that guy makes it hard not to like him. I don't know what it is, but I find it difficult not to enjoy Danhausen. He is an interesting individual.
Imagine if Danhausen came in and won the 24/7 title.
that's yeah. Sure. I mean, the 24/7 title is a joke, so I mean, you can have that kind of comedy in it. It's fine. I mean,
put him in a realm with R-Truth.
Yeah,
that's going to be comedic gold there. And the one thing WWE does do well at times is their comedy, and especially with R-Truth, the guy's he's the GOAT of comedy in my opinion.
If there's one guy I'd see show up at the Royal Rumble, and I'm not necessarily certain of what his current booked status is and stuff like that. I mean, he just was recently the longest reigning MLW champion in the history of their company, Jacob Fatu. I mean, I know that there's been talk that WWE have been interested in him at times. I don't know what the reasoning is, if it's status with him being able to travel over borders right now because of, some things that's happened in the past. But again, this is another guy that comes straight from the bloodline. I mean, this is the direct bloodline to Roman and the Usos and stuff like that. And this guy's a complete and utter badass. I mean, this is Umaga for our generation. If you haven't had a chance to catch Jacob Fatu, he is a fantastic worker on a microphone. He gets in the ring. He's probably one of the safest big guys in professional wrestling today. He is everything Vince McMahon loves about the Samoan families when it comes to professional wrestling. And I think given the opportunity to bring him in at this time, Vince would do what it takes.
And it's hard not to talk about the third Uso if we're talking the Samoan. But it would be really cool to even see like the Usos in the ring, and then you got the third brother coming in. And then also imagine then if Jacob Fatu comes in too, and you're just like, okay, like just if there's one group of people that we can just guarantee great professional wrestling, that's Samoan culture, and the people that come out of it, whether it's men or female, they are some of the most just terrific professional wrestlers we can come off. I mean, you're shouting out the Australians, who are another amazing group of professional wrestlers, but the Samoans are just on top. Like, name me a bad Samoan wrestler and I'll slap you because you're wrong. But I mean, and this goes back to Yokozuna and the Head Shrinkers and the Wild Samoan, and like, it's just, you can't go wrong.
It runs in the bloodline.
Right. I acknowledge that.
Yeah, there you go.
But another thing I acknowledge is the fact that if you go to manscaped.com and use the promo code Love Wrestling, not only can you get 20% off your order, which is nice in a time like the pandemic time where, funds might not be there, but you want to be a little bit safe. So make sure you go get that 20% off. It'll come big deal. But also, that's not even it. You'll get free shipping. So even if you live in Australia or the Isle of Samoa, you're still going to get your Manscaped at free shipping. So make sure you check that out. But you got to use the promo code Love Wrestling to do so. Believe me, that lawnmower, that is a shaver, people. I used it for the first time the other day. Top notch. It is quiet. And I like quiet things in my house. So it is the best. And it's soft. Man, you don't get it. I love it. And I'm not the world's greatest shaver by any means. So thank you. Thank you, Manscaped. I appreciate it.
Manscaped's giving you 20% off, so you can take 20% off down there.
Well, and here's the thing: if you're like, oh, by chance I save some money, but it's like, you know what, I kind of want to do some more things. I'm gonna go to whatamaneuver.net/collection/love-wrestling-ca, where you love wrestling store on whatamaneuver. All right, so like, if you had this extra funds and you're just like, oh, what do I do? I mean, merch, people. I mean, come on. I mean, how do you go wrong with some, in the words of Danhausen, some free swag? Except it's not free, but it's still swag. I think that is a word that I think needs to be brought back. It's just swag. Like, nobody uses swag in terms of clothing anymore. We always call it merch. I think more people have to start calling it swag.
I must be old school because I still go buy swag all the time.
I just never hear people talk about it and just call it. So it's just really funny. And every time I hear people call it swag, I just think it's great.
Well, if anybody has some swag that they want to send to Parrish and I, we'd be happy to get some of that swag.
I'll wear it on air. As long as it's not, if it's not going to get me in trouble, we'll say, because I do enough of trying to get myself in trouble.
It's a PG show, Parrish. Careful.
Yeah, Parrish guaranteed, baby. But with that being said, oh my God. Is there anything else that like kind of stood out for you, or do you think like this is kind of a time now we're kind of in the influx of just building to that next show? Whether it's, Rumble's kind of that next big show for pro wrestling, right?
I believe so, unless there's something I'm missing there, kind of thing. But what stands out? Obviously, Page and Danielson Part 2 stands out. It was a great match. There's no denying that. Danielson as the American Dragon's on fire. And he did two great things with this match. Two things. He not only put over the AEW championship in a massive way, he put over Adam Page in a massive way. Adam Page looks like a friggin' star after this matchup, after this feud, after getting to go over Bryan Danielson. What a great way to do things. And just kudos to AEW for allowing this to go the way it did. And kudos to Bryan Danielson for being one of the absolute pro wrestling treasures of our time.
Yeah. What do you think is next for both guys? Because I don't see a reason that you have to do a third match right away. No. Very much can, but I just think this is the great time now to kind of spread to something else.
Page has got to go in a different direction, if you ask me. I don't know who's up next with him. I will wait and see where he goes. For Danielson, it could be anybody who steps up to the plate next when it comes to the American Dragon. There's got to be somebody that he's wanting to stomp out next on that roster. There's a plethora of them over there. So, whoever it is, we know that Bryan Danielson's going to do the best to give, the performance of a lifetime every single time he steps in that ring. So I'm invested in watching everything that guy does right now.
A name that I think it might be time to start talking about again in the AEW world that I think could be a really good option for Hangman Page could be Jon Moxley.
That's fair.
I think that would be a very interesting one. On a match I just want to see Bryan Danielson in. I just want to see him against the Buster Pac just once.
Yeah, I really do too.
That is a match I want to see really bad, but also there's also part of me that would like to see Miro involved a little bit more, and I think that'd be really cool. I'm also gonna say I wouldn't mind seeing Danielson kind of go in a different direction other than the town. Maybe him and like Sammy, if they want to keep that TNT title on Sammy, I think maybe going down to the TNT title could be a benefit fit. So I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, no, I think like the smart thing is to kind of just have them kind of go out in their own way right now before you kind of just overdo what they're doing, because what they're doing is really good, and you don't want to just do too much of that and take away what it is, and it could be very special. Like when we're talking about guys that have that next, that's what we're talking about, Bobby.
Yeah. I say what's next for him. Like, he's got to have a plethora of challengers now that are, I want to categorize them as upper mid-card guys that are looking for an opportunity where I think he can go in a decent match. I say decent meaning like he doesn't need to go a 40 to 60 minute match with guys every single time.
No.
That's a thing with Danielson. I think what Adam Page needs to really continue to put himself over strongly as the AEW champion and solidify that belt is to go up against guys that are looking for that namesake, going after the title, that have been doing decently, but we know maybe aren't quite at that contendership level where we believe that they're definitely going to pull off a win. Have a decent enough match that puts those guys over to looking like they had a chance. They went toe to toe with a guy who just beat one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world today, and allow Adam Page to build that credibility for both him and the championship now until we finally get to the point where, again, you're going to have Kenny Omega eventually coming back wanting a crack at Adam Page. You're inevitably going to have, I believe, Adam Cole or somebody like that. But I don't think that you want to do it right now immediately. I think you want to build that credibility, give Page opponents that we know he can definitely put a decent match in against and go over, and solidify his championship run prior to putting him in with the ones where you could argue there might be doubt that they might flop the title to somebody else.
Yeah, another name that I think, and this kind of makes sense, especially that we're seeing more people added around him, and then we obviously have the Dark Order surrounding Adam Page. But what do you think about Malachi Black?
Oh, I got all day for Malachi Black. So, yeah, I like it. I really do, and I want to see it eventually. Again, there's just so much that can be done, but my biggest fear with professional wrestling today is we do too much too fast. And that's, I think I'm so used to the way things used to be with longevity and prolonging some of this stuff and everything that, it's too much given away too quickly. And I want to see this. I want to see lots of Malachi Black on my screen anyway, because that guy is a fantastic talent and just my cup of tea when it comes to in-ring work. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that one.
We had a cup of Joe, we had a cup of tea. What else do we have cups of here around people? Some water. But I just think too, like, we're finally at a point now where we have options. We have endless options. We have a lot of different possibilities we can go. Therefore, it's making just this whole thing fun to watch, whether it's AEW and I agree with you. The Royal Rumble looks like it's projected to be a wicked show, which would then make, and I still say I don't think Day One. I thought Day One was a good show. Like I think they really hit a home run with that one. I don't think it was their best show by any means, but I do think it was a really good show. I think the Royal Rumble is set up to be another dinger, and then Bobby firing, and I would like to see Camille defend the NWA Women's World Championship on AEW or Impact Wrestling. I will go you one better. What happens if the Forbidden Door is also with NWA?
Yeah, that is a good argument right there, and see Camille come in for that Royal Rumble as well too. Camille, again, there's another one that Vince would love to probably have someone of her stature on there. This woman works her ass off. She is tough as nails. She is built physically so solid, and her in-ring work has progressed so beautifully since getting that NWA World Championship, and is just elevated that NWA Championship. It has been fantastic to watch the growth of Camille. And again, whether it's AEW, Impact, or she does get to come through the forbidden door of WWE, I'll tune in, because this is another talent that I've got all day to tune into what they're doing and what they're up to. And it doesn't matter where they go. I want to see what's next for them.
Yeah, and I can only go with this. If we're talking NWA in this forbidden door, please give me some Nick Aldis coming over. Please. That would be a really cool surprise.
Yeah.
Imagine if he's locking horns with an Edge, or he's locking horns with, I don't think Drew McIntyre is going to be in the Rumble this year if he's hurt, but imagine if that was a possibility. But imagine, like, you're putting him up with some of your bigger guys. Imagine the possibility, maybe him versus Walter. Like just situational stuff would be very fun. I remember when Drew won, we're watching Brock kind of go up against the who's who, And then we saw him and Keith Lee, and I remember, okay, that was cool. But I just imagine if we're getting some of those now. Also imagine if we see, like, I don't know, say like a Goldberg come back in the Rumble, and we're seeing, you know, some of these guys. Imagine if we saw Walter versus Goldberg. Like, how weird would that look?
I don't know if I want that in the first place, because I just don't really care for Goldberg and never have.
No.
But now that you talk about Nick Aldis, I mean, it really starts to make me think, like, is that way more possible than any of the names we brought up before? Because, again, we're talking about, this is the man that is married to Mickie James.
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very possible that the WWE could have had talks with him, and this could be a guy that comes in as a surprise. And, you know, we talk about, like, as a mainstream crowd, would they know who Nick Aldis is? No, not necessarily. But the fans there that are the smart fans and the ones watching around the world, again, will create that social media buzz. And when people start to see that Nick Aldis is trending in WWE talk or something like that, they're going to tune in. Who is this Nick Aldis guy? Why is he trending and stuff like that? They tune in, they check it out, and then eyes are on Nick Aldis and the WWE. Once again, exactly what they want.
I have a feeling they're aware of him, but just because of how much more eyes are around the UK athletes now, especially with NXT UK being a thing under their branch. But what happens if this is one of the last guys that William Regal said, if you have a chance to bring him in, you bring him in. Then you also have the guys like Nigel McGuinness who are definitely aware of these guys. You kind of have those guys already working in your company that could help you kind of like look somewhere else for talent. And I'm sure the talent themselves are aware of all these guys. Yeah. So, but like if by chance this would be something to really, and if we're only talking about a one-off, man, and then, yeah, even like Bobby said, bring in back for one night, Trevor Murdoch. It's easy to go with all these champions. It really is. I just think, like, if you're going to do the Forbidden Door, I mean, knock the bastard down.
Now, this would be interesting if Trevor Murdoch did appear with with Sweet Charlotte, the 16 pounds of gold. I think this would be the first time that championship has been seen on a Vince McMahon-based program since, I believe, Dan Severn was the NWA World Champion the last time that it happened.
Yeah, and just imagine, like, I don't know about you, but I really hope Mickie James brings the Knockouts title.
Yeah,
I really hope we have Hardcore Country as her theme song. Not the Mickey, You're So Fine theme song. I think a lot more people would go crazy if we heard the Hardcore Country. Yeah. Like, that'd be really cool. I don't know. Like, to me, there is something about this that's starting to become a little bit more must-see.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that's also another thing. Like the Rumble match and the Rumble pay-per-view, we're already getting Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. Despite the fact if you want to admit it or not, you're getting this match.
Yeah.
Hey, we never got Taker versus Sting, but we're getting Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. And then if we got Seth Rollins against Roman Reigns, we know they're just going to have a killer match. And then we also have The Miz and Maurice versus Edge and Beth Phoenix already announced. Mickie James is announced for the Royal Rumble. Like, this has ingredients to a really good match. This is when they start doing Nain and Nakamura for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder if they're a little bit fearful with things going on, that there is a possibility that these matches that they would have loved to have long-term booked into WrestleMania could become nightmarish rolling into that time, and they might not have them available. And it puts off being able to have those matches. So it's like, okay, let's get the fans talking, get these matches out there now, get the buzz going, open the Forbidden Door. And then in that case that you get to WrestleMania and you don't have these people available, then again, that Forbidden Door is open. Maybe we see a few people coming in that way too.
Bobby, I'm loving the questions today. Do you guys think Roxy or Big Swole will show up for the Women's Royal Rumble this year? I don't think Roxy. I think Big Swole could be. That is my opinion. I'm just not going to hold my breath on it.
I don't think so. I'm going to say no to both. And I think it's just, I don't see Swole as being a name enough that they're wanting for this right now. And I don't mean that in any negative context or anything like that. I just don't see her being a grab for what they're aiming for at the moment. I think they're going to go for people that they know either have a really strong name or someone that has currently worked for them at some point in time that they know they can throw out there. It's easy enough. They've got all the music lined up. They've got the graphics lined up. There isn't a whole lot of work to bring some of them back. I don't think they're going to go that in depth going after, and this goes for Swole and Roxy, and it's no discredit to any of them. I think they're too new and too rising for WWE to go after for the Royal Rumble. I think those two will go off and do other things with other companies long before they'll make their WWE debuts.
Yeah. All right, we are definitely rolling. We're rolling towards the end. So I just want to make sure that, again, we're giving a nice shout out to our sponsors, which is RK Athletics 1. So I will get the graphic right there. So make sure you give them a good follow, give them a like. Make sure you tell Rich, who just had a match last night against Dirty Dango in a nice little tag match there. So there you go. Make sure you go check him out. Make sure if you just have any questions, that guy's definitely a guy to ask. Just an abundance of knowledge there. So make sure you just, there you go. Like that is the guy to, go get nutritional advice, get some dietary advice, get some workout advice in. That guy knows how to lift a weight properly and tell you what you have to do to, look better. So make sure you're checking out Rich in online or in person is seminars that he definitely will provide you. And then we cannot talk more about Manscaped. I mean, how can you not? Love Wrestling promo code, people, 20% off, free shipping. Can't say more. Speaking of can't say more, we can't say more because it's time to wrap up. Bobby, can you tell us more about what you have going on, where we can find you?
As always, you can always catch me over at my channel, the Video Bros Network. But right now, be prepared to see me down at ringside this Saturday for Prairie Pro Wrestling Presents 628 Days Later. We're looking to crown a new world champion. Not a new world champion, our first world champion. It's been 628 days since we started that title tournament. And come hell or high water, Parish, we're going to find a champion sooner or later.
Well, I mean, that's just swell. I mean, I can't be unhappy. I mean, you guys should find a champion. I mean, I'm still waiting on my call. I mean, I'll gladly be your champion. But
you're in my Rolodex. We'll get around to it.
I mean, patience, right? Patience. And as for me, you can always follow me on the Twitter at Chris Parrish, on the Instagram at Chris.Parrish. You can always follow everything we do at thelovewrestling.ca, whether it is our What a Maneuver stuff. Make sure you're going to their Twitch, Love Wrestling CA, or YouTube, I Love Wrestling CA. Go to Love Wrestling CA/shop. Just in case if there's some swag on the What a Maneuver that you don't see, maybe like the fanny packs, the Sunday Brunch mugs, stickers, stuff like that. Make sure you're going to the Love Wrestling shop and still getting that. Go to ratethispodcast.com/lovewrestlingca and make sure you give us a thumbs up. Make sure you give us a Ty Dillinger 10, people, because we'd like to be a number one, a Funaki number one podcast. So yeah, please go check that out. And I know I speak for Bobby when I tell everyone we're still going through a very hard time. Bobby, man. Gotta love it. Which NXT do you guys want to see show up for the men's Rumble and Royal Rumble? I'll say this: Io Shirai and Walter are my two.
I'll stick with you on Walter, and then for the women, I gotta go Persia Parada. Big fan.
So yeah, please be safe. Please be very, very diligent with the restrictions that are in your area. We want to make sure that we get past this COVID-19. We want to make sure that we have 100,000 people in the arena again for a wrestling show, because how cool is that? Oh, I just want to wrestle in front of 1,000 people. That'd be fun. But yeah, please be safe, be courteous, be very kind, but make sure no matter what, you love yourself, you love others, but you love wrestling. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.